A world waiting for light. Long before cities were filled with bright lights, nights were very different. When the sun disappeared, darkness arrived quickly. Families lit candles inside their homes. Shopkeepers used oil lamps to keep their stores open. On quiet streets, people walked carefully through the shadows. After sunset, the world became slower and quieter. For thousands of years, this was simply the way people lived. Then, during the 19th century, everything began to change. Factories grew larger, new machines appeared, cities became busier than ever before. People needed a better way to bring light into their homes, their workplaces, and their streets. Many inventors searched for an answer. Some improved old ideas. Others dreamed of something completely new. Far away, in a small village surrounded by mountains and forests, a baby boy was born during a summer storm. As thunder rolled across the sky, a flash of lightning lit up the dark night. According to a well-known family story, the midwife looked out at the storm and quietly said, "This child belongs to the darkness." His mother gently smiled and answered, "No, he will bring the light." No one knew if those words would come true. The little boy could not imagine what the future held. But one day, his ideas would help light homes, power cities, and change the modern world. His name was Nikola Tesla, and his story begins with a storm. The boy who loved storms. Nikola Tesla was born on July 10, 1856, in the village of Smiljan, which is now part of Croatia. His father was a priest. He loved books and language. His mother never attended a formal school, yet she had an extraordinary talent for making useful tools with her own hands. Nikola admired both of them. From his father, he learned the beauty of words and ideas. From his mother, he learned that every problem could have a clever solution. As a young boy, Nikola spent many hours outdoors. He watched rivers flowing through the countryside. He listened to the wind moving through the trees. Most of all, he loved thunderstorms. While other children hurried indoors, Nikola often stood near the window, watching lightning stretch across the sky. Each flash appeared for only a moment, then it was gone. He wondered where such power came from. Could people ever understand it? Could they one day use it? No one around him could answer those questions. But Nikola never forgot them. His curiosity was quiet, patient, always growing. Years later, he would remember those storms, not because they frightened him, but because they made him wonder. Sometimes, the first step toward a great discovery is simply learning to look at the world a little longer than everyone else. One day, another person would encourage that curiosity in a very special way. It was someone who knew Nikola better than anyone else. His mother. The mother who could build almost anything. Nikola often watched his mother while she worked around the house. She rarely wasted anything. If a tool did not exist, she tried to make one. If something was broken, she looked for a way to repair it. Her hands were always busy. She could weave, sew, fix, and invent small household devices with remarkable skill. Nikola watched every movement carefully. He was amazed that she could imagine a solution before she even picked up a piece of wood or metal. Sometimes she asked him to help. Together, they worked quietly. She explained very little. Instead, she showed him. Nikola learned that solving a problem was not only about working hard, it was about observing, thinking, trying again. His mother also had an incredible memory. She could remember long poems and stories without reading them. Nikola began training his own memory in the same way. He practiced remembering pictures, places, and ideas inside his mind. Little by little, something unusual began to happen. When Nikola imagined a machine, he could almost see it. He could turn it around, change its shape, watch every part move, all without touching a single tool. He did not know it yet, but this way of thinking would become one of his greatest strengths. Many inventors started by drawing their ideas on paper. Nikola often started somewhere else, inside his imagination. And before long, that extraordinary imagination would carry him far beyond his quiet village, toward a world filled with bigger challenges and even bigger dreams. A mind that could see machines. As Nikola grew older, his teachers noticed something unusual. He learned quickly. Very quickly. When he read a page, he could often remember every detail. When he solved a mathematics problem, he usually did it in his head. His classmates were surprised. Some even believed he was cheating. But Nikola was simply using his remarkable memory. There was another gift that made him different. He could build machines inside his imagination. When an idea came to him, he did not always need paper. He closed his eyes and pictured every part. A wheel, a gear, a wire. He imagined them moving together, just like a real machine. If something did not work, he changed it in his mind. Then he tested it again. Only when everything seemed right did he think about building it. Most inventors began with sketches. Nikola began with pictures that existed only inside his head. This unusual way of thinking stayed with him throughout his life. It saved him time. It helped him solve difficult problems. And it allowed him to imagine inventions that other people could not yet see. Still, talent alone was not enough. Nikola wanted to learn more than his small village could teach him. To follow his dreams, he would have to leave home. It was a difficult decision, but every new journey begins with a single step. Leaving home. When Nikola was older, he left Smiljan to continue his education. For the first time, he was far away from the mountains, forests, and quiet roads of his childhood. Everything felt different. His teachers expected more from their students. The lessons became harder. Nikola worked long hours. He loved mathematics, physics, and engineering. The more he learned, the more curious he became. One day, during a class, his professor demonstrated a machine called a direct current motor. The machine worked, but Nikola noticed something that bothered him. The brushes inside the motor created sparks. They wore out over time. He quietly wondered, there must be a better way. His classmates accepted the machine as it was. Nikola could not. That small question stayed with him for years. Outside the classroom, life was not always easy. He became seriously ill. For a time, his family feared he might not recover. As he rested, Nikola made a promise to himself. If he became healthy again, he would devote his life to engineering. Slowly, he recovered. His strength returned, and so did his dream. He was no longer just a curious student. He was becoming a young inventor with a purpose. Soon, another opportunity would appear. One that would take him across the Atlantic Ocean to a country full of new possibilities. A new beginning in America. In 1884, Nikola Tesla arrived in New York City. He was 28 years old. He carried only a few personal belongings. He had little money. But he carried something far more valuable. A mind full of ideas. New York was unlike any place he had ever seen. The streets were crowded. Horse-drawn carriages moved beside busy pedestrians. Factories worked day and night. Everywhere he looked, the city seemed alive. Nikola had traveled to America for one reason. He wanted to meet Thomas Edison. At the time, Edison was already one of the world's most famous inventors. His electrical systems were spreading across many cities. Nikola admired what Edison had achieved. Soon, he found work at Edison's company. The days were long. The problems were difficult. Nikola worked hard and solved many technical challenges. But as time passed, he realized that he and Edison saw the future differently. Edison believed direct current was the best way to deliver electricity. Nikola was convinced there was a better solution: alternating current. It was only an idea. Many people doubted it. Some believed it could never work. Nikola understood that proving his idea would not be easy. It might even cost him his job. But he had learned something long ago while watching storms over the hills of Smiljan. Great discoveries often begin with a question that other people choose to ignore. and Nikola was ready to follow that question, wherever it might lead. The battle of two currents. Nikola Tesla believed that alternating current, or AC, could carry electricity over long distances more efficiently than direct current, but convincing other people was not easy. At that time, Thomas Edison strongly supported direct current, or DC. He believed it was the safer and better system. Soon, newspapers began writing about the disagreement. People called it the War of the Currents. For Nikola, it was never about winning an argument. It was about finding the best way to bring electricity to more people. Fortunately, he was not alone. An American businessman named George Westinghouse believed in Tesla's ideas. Westinghouse saw the potential of alternating current. He purchased many of Tesla's patents and invited him to continue developing the new system. Together, they worked to improve AC technology. The task was not easy. Many people were afraid of electricity. Others did not understand why a new system was needed. Tesla traveled from city to city, explaining how alternating current worked. Sometimes he stood before large audiences with electrical equipment surrounding him. He allowed high-voltage electricity to pass through his body during carefully planned demonstrations. The audience watched in complete silence. Then the lights glowed. Nothing happened to Tesla. People were amazed. For the first time, many of them began to believe that alternating current could be both powerful and safe. Little by little, public opinion began to change. The question was no longer whether AC could work. The question was whether it could power an entire city. The answer would soon shine before the eyes of the whole world. The night the world became brighter. In 1893, people from around the world gathered in Chicago for the World's Columbian Exposition. It was one of the largest international fairs ever held. Visitors came to see the newest inventions, buildings, and ideas. There was one question that everyone was asking: who would provide electricity for the fair? The answer surprised many people. George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla won the project. As evening arrived on opening day, thousands of visitors waited. The sky slowly grew darker. Then, almost at once, the lights came on. Buildings, streets, fountains, and walkways were suddenly filled with brilliant white light. People stopped walking. Some simply stood and stared. Others smiled with excitement. Many had never seen so much electric light in one place before. The fair became one of the greatest demonstrations of alternating current. It showed that Tesla's system could safely provide electricity on a large scale. Soon after, another challenge appeared: the powerful Niagara Falls. For years, engineers had wondered how its energy could be used. Tesla believed the waterfalls could generate electricity for cities many miles away. In 1895, the Niagara Falls power station began operating with Tesla's alternating current system. Electricity flowed from the waterfalls to homes, factories, and businesses. The dream that had once existed only inside Nikola's imagination had become reality. The world was growing brighter. But Nikola's imagination was already reaching far beyond power stations and electric lights. He was beginning to dream about something even more extraordinary. Dreams beyond wires. Most people looked at electricity and saw light. Nikola Tesla saw possibilities. He believed that one day people might send energy without wires. They might communicate across great distances almost instantly. Ideas that sounded impossible to many people felt completely natural to him. Nikola spent long hours in his laboratory. Bright sparks filled the room. Electrical coils produced flashes that danced through the air. Visitors watched with amazement as strange experiments came to life. In 1898, Nikola introduced a small boat that could be controlled by radio signals. The audience could hardly believe what they were seeing. There were no ropes, no hidden wires. The boat responded to commands from a distance. Many people thought it was magic. Nikola smiled and explained that it was simply science. He dreamed even bigger. On Long Island, New York, he began building the Wardenclyffe Tower. He hoped it would one day send information, and perhaps even electrical power, across the world without wires. It was an ambitious dream, perhaps too ambitious for its time. Money became difficult to find. Construction slowed. Eventually, the project stopped. Many people saw the unfinished tower as a failure. Nikola saw something different. He believed that even if one dream ended, another could begin. Not every idea changes the world immediately. Some ideas simply arrive before the world is ready to understand them. And as the years passed, Nikola would discover that being ahead of his time could also be a lonely place. The inventor who never stopped dreaming. As the years passed, the world continued to change. Electricity spread across cities. Factories became more powerful. Homes became brighter. Many of Nikola Tesla's ideas were becoming part of everyday life. Yet Tesla himself lived very differently. He was no longer surrounded by busy laboratories or large teams of engineers. Instead, he spent more and more time alone. He still filled notebooks with new ideas. He still imagined inventions that could improve the future. But many of those ideas were difficult to explain. Some seemed too advanced for the technology of his time. Finding support became harder. Investors wanted inventions that could make money quickly. Tesla wanted to build the future. Those were not always the same thing. As he grew older, he found comfort in simple routines. Every day, he enjoyed long walks through the streets of New York. He often visited nearby parks. There, he fed pigeons that gathered around him. He watched them quietly, just as he had once watched storms as a little boy. One white pigeon became especially important to him. Tesla once said that caring for the bird brought him great happiness. It reminded people that behind the famous inventor was a gentle and thoughtful man. Although his life became quieter, his imagination never did. Even in his later years, Nikola continued asking the same question that had guided him since childhood. What else is possible? And perhaps, that question was always more important to him than finding the final answer. The light that still shines Nikola Tesla passed away on January 7, 1943, in New York City. He was 86 years old. At the time, many people remembered him as a brilliant inventor, but few realized how deeply his work had already changed the world. Today, it is almost impossible to imagine modern life without electricity. Homes, schools, hospitals, factories, and cities all depend on systems that use alternating current. Every time lights brighten a room, machines begin to work, or power travels across long distances, part of Tesla's vision lives on. His influence reaches even further. Radio communication, remote control, electric motors. Many technologies we use every day were shaped by ideas that Tesla explored more than a century ago. Of course, not every dream he imagined became reality. Some ideas remained unfinished. Others had to wait many years before the world was ready for them. But great dreamers are not remembered because every dream comes true. They are remembered because they help others imagine what is possible. Long ago, a little boy stood by a window, watching lightning flash across the night sky. He wondered where such power came from. He never stopped asking that question. And because he kept asking, millions of people around the world now live in a brighter future. Perhaps that is the true power of curiosity. It begins with one person, one question, one idea. Then, quietly, it lights the way for everyone else.